After the fire, authorities predicted it would take years for the rebuild to begin. That work's gone much faster than expected. And as Daryl Huff learned, it's essential to healing broken hearts.
We're trapped in Kahua, man.
Yeah, we're trapped, man. It's getting hot in here, man.
It's getting hot.
So we need somebody like now.
I opened up the windows and then I could just feel this heat. And I'm like, we gotta go. I started yelling to the kids.
Too fast, too strong. Firefighters that is trained to do this couldn't do this.
In an older subdivision called Kahua or Mill Camp, Sean Sarabai and Jessica Kadiam had homes they could be proud of. The Kadiam's house fit a narrow flag lot on Kahe Street, and the Sarabais on Kaili Place had dramatic picture windows. They also had a community they loved.
Playing hide and seek through the neighbors' yards and picking mango from the neighbors, lychee from the neighbors, but a lot of them got mad, but yeah.
Mill Camp was nearest the open fields where the fire may have started and was the first community absorbed by the conflagration. Just across the fence was Kim Ball's 5-year-old house. A friend took this photo as the flames approached. Despite the up-to-date construction, his and most of the other houses on Komomai Street also turned to ash. About an hour later, Front Street was in flames. This video revealed the horrible truth to those building owners.
By 7:30 at night, by the pictures that we were seeing, those were our buildings on fire. So I knew by 7:30 that night, that the buildings were gone.
Nearly a year later, most of Lahaina has been transformed, with most lots cleared and covered with gray gravel, ready and waiting for rebuilding.
After what we saw right after the fires, this is transformational. I'm on Komomai Street in one of Lahaina's newest subdivisions where most of the lots have been cleared and there's actually shovels on the ground beginning to build foundations.
All these houses were 5 or 6 years old, all underground utilities, wide streets. So it'd be the easiest one to build back. And I'm in my 70s. I don't have a long time to wait. So I wanted to get back and have it finished in my lifetime.
By late July, about a dozen rebuild permits had been issued, mostly for places like Komomai Street, where plans were readily available and homes met modern codes and setbacks. Not the case over the fence in Kahua, where some are not even sure they want to come back to a neighborhood where more than 40 people died in the maze of narrow streets.
It feels kind of like a graveyard in this area.
So more people want to leave than rebuild.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
How come?
Well, one, yeah, obviously the infrastructure, the roads.
They don't feel safe.
No. From here to here, it's 13 and a half feet. I mean, for those that knows that what's the legal size, we are far from legal.
The county has struggled with what's right for Kahua, telling people they can apply for permits, but also warning that they must follow codes for wider roads and setbacks for safety, which make it unclear what they can build.
You don't know. Everything's up in the air. And then why would we pay all this money for plans that may not even be here?
That uncertainty is shared by working class and well-off families, like the owners in the historic Front Street Business District. Kaleo Schneider is one of about 100 descendants of Lucy Napella Kaukau and Antonio Furtado, who owned 2 buildings above the water.
So this is how the seawall used to look. This is actually our building, one of our buildings right here.
The shoreline buildings were certainly part of the character of Lahaina, but they were built on posts right on the beach. Most people don't think there's any chance they could ever be built here again.
Schneider called her relatives together on Zoom the day after the fire.
There's a lot of crying. There was a lot of devastation, speechlessness. Everybody was just like, this was a gift from our great-grandparents. We weren't going to sell, we weren't going to bail, we weren't going to, do anything like that. We were like, we're in, all in.
Along with other commercial property owners, they also decided to resist pushing for a quick rebuilding out of respect for those who'd lost homes and loved ones. They kept quiet for 11 months.
We all felt that we should sit back and be very quiet, and we should be very, give reverence to the whole situation. It even makes me want to start crying right now.
So as the debris removal finally moves into the commercial district, the owners hope to rebuild Lahaina as it was with modern materials. But they'll face strict new regulations spawned by the reality of sea level rise that require reconstruction further from shore. As of late July, the county hadn't approved a permit along the Coastal Special Management District, saying rebuilding plans will be reviewed case by case.
Or hundreds of landowners having to do environmental assessments.
Or they might move. Lahaina has a number of large pieces of property that could be used to offer new locations for owners who cannot rebuild, like along the shorelines or in congested subdivisions. Kamehameha School's land, just across Lahaina Luna Road from Kahua, could provide room to expand the community with wider roads and setbacks and a chance to remain neighbors.
The request was, if you guys are going to give us a land swap, we want to be all neighbors still.
I think that our family is really hopeful that we just can move forward in some way, whether that be in a different area or not.
I think there could be available lands that either the county could purchase or that the county currently has. I think we got to talk about things like managed retreat. We got to talk about some of the sea level rise issues. There's so many issues to talk about so that we can have, that vibrant Lahaina in a safe way.
Many of those land swap conversations also concern the future of the destroyed Kamehameha III Elementary School. The campus will be rebuilt on higher ground, leaving a substantial piece of land on Front Street in state control. A portion could be offered to displaced businesses, but it's primarily seen as a major component of a cultural corridor. As the former seat of the Hawaiian Kingdom and a burial site, some see it as the ideal place to reassert the history of the kingdom into Lahaina's landscape, long overshadowed by whaling and sugar interests.
There's a lot of trauma basically came about once the island was covered. On the Native Hawaiian perspective of why this area was so important.
Cultural advocate Keamoku Kapu is leading the growing movement to restore the nearly 20 acres of stream-fed ponds around Moku'ula Island, now buried under a city park. After the fire, the groundwater began to reemerge, filling the parking lot of the destroyed 505 Front Street Shopping Center, which Kapu says feels like a message from the past.
Water is making a definitely big, huge statement. And lo and behold, we already have a fish pond. All we have to do is take the mascara off and we have the wetlands right there. Everything is all set in place.